gives me great pleasure to introduce Jonathan. So Jonathan is an experienced visionary leader with many decades of experience, all right, in building teams, both in NS civilian practices. He has also an accomplished career where he started in hospitality, which spanned over 3 decades with specialization in ops. So pretty much back office, and then he moved forward to the front office as well, involving business development, publishing, and events management. Currently, he's an L&D specialist. He's also a HR certified professional. So he dabbles a lot in training, more talent-related program. Now, you might be wondering why Jonathan? Why Jonathan? Because, you know, in his journey, he actually had a stint in his career where he worked in the most prestigious office that we can think of. Yeah, Jonathan, I'll leave it to you to surprise them why I picked you to come share your journey, unique journeys. Okay, so any one of you with any interesting journey, please reach out to us. All right, I'm all for supporting talent here. Today, he's going to share with us. Are there actions that candidates can take to be more visible to employers? And on that, I'm just going to stop share and pass you on to Jonathan. So Jonathan, over to you.
Thanks, Eileen, for the introduction and for the prelude of the information that you shared with all the candidates. Just let me share my screen. All able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, just let me expand my screen for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure today to be able to be here with you to share my journey with you. Now, what you hear from Eileen is how to be visible. And maybe one of the things that I'll talk about perspective is this. Eileen is spelled E-I-L-E-N, but for some, it can be Eileen. Okay, so all these webinars that she's been conducting will give a different perspective to each individual. And your take back is going to be very uniquely yours and yours alone. So what I'm going to share is a journey I've gone through, how to be visible. And this visibility, for some, is a bit excessive, but for some, is an eye-opener. But if you see the title there, it's about Me Inc. Who is the me? The me is every one of us right in front of the camera. You, me, Eileen, May, Eliza, Mahesh, Irene, everybody there. And my journey, what makes it interesting was from the kampong. And for those who are not sure what kampong is, in the local term, the kampong is a village, to the Istana. And the Istana is a Malay word for presidential palace. So it's a journey of how I went from the kampong to the Istana office. Okay. So just a short thing of who am I. The GM word is common to everybody, right? General manager. But I'm not a GM. I always call myself a GW. And what does that mean? General worker. You know, there people ask, no, are you a specialist in this, specialist in? Sure, I can be a specialist in anything, especially in job search now, right? We want to be anything, everything possible, because why? We need to get a job. And for those in the text box earlier, they say that because we are senior, go slow, I am in the same age category too, okay? So we are here to share the journey together, so do not be afraid. Now, I started as a hospitality professional, and what does it mean? It means the hotel line, resorts, travel and stuff, okay? And NS, again, for our participants who may not be familiar, it means National Service. So I'm an NS leader, and currently I'm an L&D specialist, and L&D means learning and development. Okay, so if you know the chat function, maybe we just do a poll, okay? Now, Eileen has shared a lot earlier, okay? Now, how many of you think now, after hearing what she has shared, do you think that you need a social media presence to be more visible? And social media, we're talking about LinkedIn, because it seems a common thing for everybody now, right? LinkedIn is a professional platform. It can still be Facebook, because some of us are still on Facebook, including me. It could be Instagram, or it couldn't be TikTok. How many people think? If you think that it is, type 1 on the chat box. If you think that no, you're comfortable where you are, type a 0. Okay.
Wow, lots of ones.
Lots of ones.
Some 0. There's a few zeros, but lots and lots of ones.
Lots of ones.
Lots of ones. Hey, that's
okay. So there are a lot of ones. You feel that we need to be more visible. But what does visibility mean? Of course, I need to share some about how visible, and I just share my journey, how I became a bit more visible. Is it up to my expectation? Probably yes, probably no. It depends on the time of the day. Yeah. But how I have journeyed from where I was and how I embraced the social media to be where I am, and how eventually landed something that I actually was hoping for. I'm going to take you on a learning journey. Okay. Now, this learning journey is a storytelling form. Now, some of these words there is familiar to you, you know. It's just like Lee Martek, you know, on TV when he wants to tell a story to his children, right? Once upon a time. Okay. I'm going to share with you about the frog that came out from the well. Because when the frog is in the well, the vision is very tunnel vision, only one-sided. How did the frog came off the well and see the world? I'm going to talk about Arabian Nights. And for those, Arabian Night means what? It's 1001 nights. The multiple journeys I've been through and the adventures I've gone to. I'm going to take it around the world in 80 days. And if I share with you the Emperor's New Clothes. So let us start. I grew up in a kampong. Really kampong. It's a village. And in the kampong, we had a fire even once, whereby we had to evacuate. So it's a real life experience living in a kampong, whereby you do not have toilet facilities in the house. You can go to a common toilet that's outside. And you get this common, this uncle that comes probably a few times a week to actually remove off the containers of biological waste that we actually discharge. Okay. Now, to me, there's no Netflix, there's no TV. Going to the playground, like what you see there with my sister, was the most fun time of my life. And that's what I grew up in. And when I was 6 years old in kindergarten, I made the first life decision. You see the two logos there? One is Radin Mas, one is De La Salle. Now, both were primary schools. My dad went to Radin Mas. But when he was about to register me for primary 1, he asked me a question. Which school would you like to go? I'm a 6 years old. And he gave me the decision, which school would you like to go? So why don't you do a guess? No, 1 for Radin Mas, 2 for De La Salle. Which school did I go to? You can type in the chat group, you know. I don't have lucky draw prizes, but you know, let's see whether you get the right choice.
Yes, we just finished a webinar on, you know, giving bouquets of flowers. Okay. Well, I think it's a mixed crowd, Jonathan. Mix of ones and twos, yeah.
Yeah.
Mix of ones and twos.
So that was my first life decision. Thinking back, that actually gave me a path on a journey that shaped me to where I am. Of course, every school is a good school. So my dad went to Radin Mas. And he gave me a choice of De La Salle, which is a Christian school. And my parents were not Christians. So looking back, that decision was very, very surprising that my dad chose to let me have the choice. But because at the time, I only know this food called Laksao. I don't know what is Radin Mas. And Laksao is familiar to me. So I chose De La Salle. I went to De La Salle Primary, and the journey I had was what shaped me is today. And in my primary school, I remember at primary 5, I was like the cartoon character you see on the screen. Now, for those who know who is that cartoon character, you will know what kind of age group we are in already. Okay? And that cartoon character is called Fat Albert. Okay? He used to go on TV and he go, hey, 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 it's Fat Albert.
Oh gosh. Hi, Kam Hong.
Yes. Also, for those who know, you raise your hand, you smile, you will know that.
That's why he typed there, Fat Albert.
Yes, wonderful. Okay. Now, at P5, doing physical exercise, I was taught by my form teacher to be a no neck. Exactly like Albert there. No neck means what? I was plump, I was fat. And he called me no neck. Till this day, that word stayed with me. It affected me, but it did not hold me down. Okay, but these are the experiences that we have been through, whether as a child or as a worker in some organizations. Words do play a part in shaping what we think. And that stayed with me. I'm hoping I could see him again, you know, on the street and show him how I look like now. Okay, nothing negative, but just want to show and say hi to him, you know, how much has changed. Yeah. So primary school, I moved on to secondary school. And for the first time in my life, I was given a leadership position. I took up judo. I was in the committee. And I didn't know what does a committee do. I was made a secretary. It was like, a secretary? I have to write notes? And I'm a boy. I do not know all this. But I was given a leadership position for the first time in my life. Okay? And because of being active in the sport, somehow my weight went down. Somehow I enjoy sports. And I moved on to a college whereby I became a school counselor. And somehow I enjoyed schooling. I enjoyed being in a community and I enjoyed participating. And as a school counselor, I also get a chance to actually lead in leadership camps, student camps. Okay. So of course, being male, 18 years old, we all go to the army. You know, I was in Tekong. It's a holiday resort now, but at that time, you know, it was a bit tough. Okay. And when we're doing our basic military training, we actually have interviews by the counselors, like asking us, you know, how are we? They're actually also assessing our leadership qualities and stuff like that. And somehow I recalled during that night, I was so tired. And I told the counselor, I actually didn't like the army. I didn't like the color green. I know my friend went to the police force. Could I get a posting in the police force? It was just very candid. It was just very casual without expecting anything at all. So 3 months later, when the posting came, oh, I had a call on the weekend. Can you please just pack all your army stuff? You are to return the next day. I was shocked. So 90 of us was actually transferred from the army to the police force to be officer cadet. And there's the picture you see there in the police force. In the police force, I happened to have an attachment in the Ministry of Home Affairs, where I actually did policy work, working with the ministers. And that again shaped my thinking of how a country works. Of course, we see a lot of things, whether positive or negative. People do work. There are different opinions. There are different challenges. There are different approaches. But civil service do work. Okay? Now, after national service, or during the end of it, I make a second life decision. I did not do well in my A-levels. I tried to apply for Polytechnic. I want to do mass media because that seems to be a craze there, you know, TV production and stuff like that. I was rejected. So at that point in time when I was about to end my national service, I have to make a decision, what am I going to do? Am I going to study or am I going to work? And I saw the newspaper and advertisement came out. It was a work and study program. And it was to be sponsored by a hotel to go to Shatek, to be trained in F&B operations. And at the time of that, hotel seems very stylish, seems very attractive. I like to meet people, I like to interact with people. Sure, I want to give it a try. I applied, I got the sponsorship, and I was sent off to Shatek. So in Shatek, I was trained in F&B operations. I went back to the hotel. I started as a waiter. I started in the kitchen as a kitchen helper, and I went through the full spectrum of all the different F&B operations, but as a waiter, not as a management trainee. Okay? Along the way, because I'm a sponsored trainee, HR somehow took notice of me and my fellow colleague. And we got involved in a lot of hotel activities. So what you see there, we have the GM, we have a 24-hour swimathon. We even went around, you know, sustainability, you know, wearing this, walking down Orchard Road. And that again got me somehow involved in the work that I'm doing. From the hotel, I move on to a resort. So that guy in the horse, or centaur you call it, is actually part of what I did because it's in events. And I also got involved in the children's club where I learned balloon sculpting. And I always joke with my friends, I have balloon sculpting skill. In the event I can't find a job, of course now because of COVID, I'll be in Orchard Road, I'll be doing balloon twisting as a retirement.
Wow. Now okay. I know, so Jonathan.
Yeah, so if you see me on Orchard, please don't run away, just donate, you know, $2 for a balloon and we can.
No, so you're going to come. come for my next event.
Yeah.
Teach us
So
how to do that.
Yeah, these are skills that I actually pick up along the way. And because of my exposure to the hospitality trade and my exposure to the F&B line, there's this event that's ongoing now called the World Gourmet Summit. Now, the World Gourmet Summit brings Michelin star chef into Singapore, and we craft a program. It can be a dinner with wine in the hotels or in some of the F&B areas. And we move people into those events to enjoy the food and the drinks. And along the way, we also bring several celebrities. For example, again, these are very, very old names. Keith Floyd, Ian Wright from Discovery Channel, or even if you know, the late Anthony Bourdain. I actually had dinner with him when I was in Singapore. So in the World Gourmet Summit, there was a publication called the Cuisine and Wine Asia, which I was a publisher. And that got me so involved in what I had originally wanted to do, mass media. I was taking care of writers, of designers, of photographers, and actually crafting a magazine that is actually distributed worldwide. So again, somehow everything just all got fit into space. Okay? Now, because of my involvement in national service, I had the opportunity to serve the president. And this didn't come by chance. I know that before me, there were seniors who served the president. And I knew during my time, there wasn't such a vacancy available. But I approached the department, which is governing the NS men in the police force, and asked them, is there an opportunity to serve the president during my time? And they went to ask the Istana, and somehow they revived the scheme for NS men, because I wasn't a regular, for NS men to serve the president. And that year, 2 of us were selected at the age of 40 years old, because the cutoff date was actually 40. So we didn't know that we have a chance, but we took it. We went for the interview by the Istana personnel, and we got selected. And I was privileged to be able to serve 2 presidents, the late Mr. Naden, and of course, Dr. Tony Tan, for 9 years. And the photo that you see on the right with PM Lee was during the, not the last election, but 2 elections ago, when he was swearing in, and that somehow appeared because my friends saw the news and captured it for me. Yeah. And right at the bottom where you see the car mirror is that as an aide-de-camp to the president, we represent the president's office to welcome foreign dignitaries when they visit Singapore. And I had the privilege to be the, what we call the aide-de-camp in attendance to 2, the president of Philippines, as well as the king of Jordan, King Hussein. No? And it's like, you know, when you ever drive, you see the traffic police stop the cars, and then cars go by. I was in one of those convoy. And that is an experience, I say, you know, that money can't buy, but yet a lot very enriching. Okay. So along the way, I was given command of my own unit. So for those who have a son serving in Transcom, I was the first NS Commander Transcom. And these are the young men that you see dashing, full of muscle, very tip-top shape. Okay, they are actually patrolling the MRT stations. Yeah. And I made a commitment to lead the team to the best NS unit before my last year of service at the age of 50 years old. And of course, NS 50, we had the chance to be in the Istana for a night function with PM Lee. Now, around the world in 80 days, the countries you see there were those countries that I visited when I embarked on my next career journey. Now, how did I land up this job? So previously, when I was in the World Gourmet Summit team, we attend a lot of media events. And in the media events, I don't just talk to people I know, I actually move around to get to know the people that I do not know. And one of the people that I did not know comes from the travel publishing. So when there was an opportunity in that company, I actually went to apply. And because of my role, I get a chance to travel for travel exhibitions. But as you may now also expect, right? When COVID hits, travel stops, my role was also made redundant. So like many or some of you here, okay, we were in the same boat, or we are in the same boat, okay, whereby we face such challenge. But to be able to enjoy all these countries visit also gave me a different perspective. Okay? And some of the experience I have experienced, like going to a country, learning the culture, be with the locals, able to work with the youth there because of our travel events, give me a lot of perspective. Okay, so in terms of whatever visibility, I'll come to share a bit about that in a moment. Okay, so some of these, one of the better countries I visited was here, Kazakhstan. I think in my lifetime I would never think of going to Kazakhstan, but because we have a travel event there, I happened to be there twice. One before the event for Recce and one for the actual event itself. And I enjoyed, what I've seen actually over there. So I think most of the can't wait for travel to happen again. Yeah. Yes, you didn't raise a hand. Okay. Now, so closer to home, one of the things that I shared earlier is that what else do we do beyond our job? Do we have a hobby? Do we have an interest? Do we volunteer? I do. Okay. So I volunteer with the Swimming Association, whereby I'm an artistic swimming judge. Or in the past, it's called synchronized swimming. Okay. So in the past, it was all girls. But now the sport has got men. Okay. And they are very, very flexible, if not better than some of the girls. So I represented Singapore with the national team to Japan to be a judge over there. At the local level, I'm the technical official. At the last SEA Games in 2015, I was actually the competition manager for synchronized swimming. And that gave me a lot of exposure. I'm also a volunteer of Home Team NS, which is the equivalent of SAFRA, which is the Association for Police NS Men. And of course, through my service, there's also some recognition. And what you see here was the first Youth Olympic Games to be held in Singapore in 2010. I was one of those that actually carried the frame and run along the streets of Singapore. And these are experiences, I say, that are very enriching. So why am I sharing all this? So COVID hits, like some of us here. In fact, I have a classmate who is here. Okay, COVID hits. Role made redundant. We panic. At certain age, you feel that, oh no, it's much more tougher to look for a job. But government has got many schemes. And one of those schemes is the SG United program by Korn Ferry in human relations. Okay? HR was new to me, but Chinese say, right? You grow old, you learn to you old, right? So HR was new to me, but it was something exciting. It was something related to what I hoped I wanted to do. I thought that as an experienced guy, I could be a coach, I could do training. And part of training or learning development is actually part of a HR function. So I embarked on a Korn Ferry program for 6 months, okay, using SkillsFutures credit. And I think some of you will know probably about this. There are additional runs coming up. You may like to approach me later, send me a note. I will let you know how to sign up. Okay. So for 6 months, I went on a HR program. Concurrently, I also took up my ACLP, which is actually Advanced Certificate in Learning and Development under the Institute of Adult Learning, IAL. So for 1 week, I could spend 3 half days in Korn Ferry lessons and another 3 half days and night on my IOL program. I've never studied so hard in my life. Never. Okay. And the amount of work is just tremendous. Okay. But along the way, of course, people mentioned this thing called LinkedIn. It's a professional platform. We should all be in it. I was in it when I was in my work in the past, but I didn't really embark on it. I didn't really participate in it. So I started my LinkedIn. I started posting. And what do I post? That's where I shared all the privacies, the storytelling. Each one of us have a story to tell. We just need to look back what we have been through. From your youth all the way to now. There are stories. Nothing is boring. So what I'm trying to share is that each one of us has something to share that is very personal to the rest. And once it's personal, it becomes very authentic. It becomes very specially you, not anyone else. So when you want to be visible, you must be thinking, what do I do? Do I always do a post? Do I just share? Then I hope this storytelling journey will let you appreciate that you do have something with you, if you look back, to share with the rest. Okay, so I started my LinkedIn. I decided to create a hashtag called OddDaysWithJon. Odd days initially what I wanted was, I just want to post it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you know, so the rest of the day I could rest. But along the way, odd days to me become that so long there's something odd or I feel odd, I would like to post about it. It doesn't need to be every day, but so long you feel, because like I say, not everyone is a writer, neither am I. And along the way, some of my posts get recognized. For example, the one you see on the right, Opinions Committee, is from IHRP, Institute of Human Resource Professional, whereby I did a post about what all the MPs say about HR-related issue. So, and this morning, just to share, Colin Powell, who was the former Secretary of State in the USA, actually died yesterday. And to me, I was influenced by him for what he had done in doing the Gulf War. And I actually did a post on that. So it can be very impromptu. It can be something very close to your heart. It's something that you feel that you might just do a post about it. Okay? And you can create your own hashtag if you want to, that's uniquely yours. For example, a day out with Elisa, freedom with Freda, for example, you know, something that you can do that's uniquely yours. Yeah. Now, the key insight here is that some of us are scared, are worried about social media. You don't want to share too personal stuff. It also could be where you're coming from. You don't have to if you do not want to share personal stuff. You just have to embrace it, but not to worship it. There are people who you know, when you wake up to your sleep, you're on the social media every time, looking at how many people view, how many hits. You don't have to do that. You embrace it, you use it at your comfort level. Now, number two, I think it's also shared earlier. When you see a post, share your opinions and your thoughts professionally. Now, in LinkedIn, there are a lot of intellectual debates. Okay? Some actually oppose to what you post, and they will make you known about it. Now, you do not have to get too agitated, because I say this is a difference in opinion. And as a professional, you are...
Jonathan, you just went on mute. It's not sure why. Not me. I'm going to do a very childish response, but really not me. It's not me.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Maybe it's telling me the time is almost up. Okay. Yeah, so I was saying that, you know, share your opinions and thoughts professionally, because it's a professional platform, and sometimes what they share could give you an insight of what you have not gone through. And the last, now do not be shy to ask. For example, I have asked to serve the president. I have asked to do things that's beyond my comfort level. And one of the things that I felt that I've asked that got me to where I am is to ask for a job. How did that come about? Just let me share. So these are some of the people that I followed on LinkedIn. Because why? They have got many followers. They write almost every day. And they are in LinkedIn top voices. When they have a title, means must be good, right? Right? So this is one of the first steps that you may like to start off with. If you're on LinkedIn for the first time, who do you follow? What do you do? What do you read? There's so many articles there. Is to follow those who have titles. Okay? Or if you add me on LinkedIn, you can actually follow what I follow, read what I read, and after that expand out. If you connect with with Eileen, it's the same thing. You know, you can follow what she reads or what she comments on, and then you expand out. So these are two of the people that I follow. And Dr. Chan is actually on the way to the US now for a conference. Okay. And David actually posts every day, sometimes 2-3 times. It's crazy, but no, these are some of the things that people do. So back to me. I was looking for a job. This post came out from a friend of a friend. Okay. And while I applied for it, I also look at the person that posts a job, who is his friend with. And I happen to have 2 persons who is in the network who he is. So I approached the 2 persons that I know, say that, hey, I'm applying for this job. Do you know this guy? Would you like to give a reference for me to help me along? And they did. One was my career coach, that's actually under Workforce Singapore. Okay, and the other one is a personal friend. Okay, and most of the time, we also be aware that most jobs sometimes is through referral. There are open jobs available, of course, and I've been through that, you know, sending the multitude of resumes out. Okay, And I'm sure that you have got different opinions of what do you do with the resume? Do you really customize it? My answer is yes. If you really like the job, you need to give the time to look at the scope and to frame it to your advantage. And for this, and I did that. I studied the job description. I look at what I have that could be highlighted. And I also did a cover letter and I just send it out. Okay. I've been through the stages whereby you're just sending resume, right? You're just clicking, send. I've been through that. And sometimes it gets very tiring. It gets draining when you get no response at all. And I've been called for interview. You know, they sat me down and this young guy said that, hey, you know, you have been in this position. Do you really want this job? I was like, yeah, I applied, number one. You call me for interview, number two. And yes, I do want it. But of course, after that, I don't get anything. So I've been through that, like most of y'all do too. Okay. Now, how do I appear here today? Because in my Korn Ferry program, there was a speaker, a guest speaker from DBS Bank. I connected with him on LinkedIn because it was a professional thing to do. I asked him, can he help me to look at my resume and see, you know, is there something that he could, under his network, to connect me with? He connected me with his friend. And this friend appeared in Eileen's program. And he invited me to join Eileen's program on that day during the webinar. And Eileen is such a professional, right? I connected with her. We had a chat. And somehow everything just flew, and that's why I am here today. Do not be
so quick.
Yes. Do not be shy. Do not be afraid to ask. Okay. Do not be. Okay. And let me move on to the last one. Okay. Now you can see number 4 there. It's called a virtual coffee. Now, because of working from home, we can't meet, and sometimes you may need to just have a Zoom chat online. Okay. Last time we say, hey, come, let's go and drink kopi. You know, I buy you a cup, and then we sit down. We can't do that, right? Now, but there's nothing to prevent you that if you want to approach a job poster or even the HR person or even connect with them after the chat, you could send a virtual coffee voucher to them as a form of thank you for your time of talking to me today. There's nothing to stop you.
I like that.
When I hear this, oh, wouldn't that make you stand out and be visible to the person? If you could do that, and that is only like less than $10, you can buy a virtual coffee voucher.
Some may say bribery, huh?
Yeah, but I say, you know, if you're sincere about it, and if the bribery gets you what you want, why not?
I think in all openness and transparency,
yes, in open transparency, and I'm sure that they don't have to declare unless I'm not sure any civil service here, right? Yeah. Okay. So I hope that, you know, you do have a story to tell whereby you can be more visible. You do have content within you that you could actually dig out, look at your past, and able to share with that because it becomes authentic, that is strictly yours and no one else. Okay. Remember, going for interview is also storytelling. What the person wants to hear is, how do you become where you are now and what do you have to offer? It is a story. Okay, so dig deep, okay, and do not be afraid to just start posting just mini stuff, 1-2 paragraph, and slowly build your presence, build your visibility on the social media platform. Yeah, and if you like to connect, like say if you have it links LinkedIn, and this is mine, you can scan the QR code, or very easy, you know, I'm Jonathan Wan. You can find me on LinkedIn, and that's also my Gmail. And if you're comfortable with Facebook, with Instagram, continue to do that, because at the end, I say it's building up the confidence in the platform you're comfortable with. And if you think that you want to move it to LinkedIn, whereby it's more professional, sure, make that transition. Take your time, and you can do it.
Wow, fantastic. I love it. So we spoke about 3 phases, right? The first one is exist in their world. So I think Jonathan already made himself, you know, into the digital world, which is LinkedIn. And then the second one is get the attention of the people, which he did as well. He definitely did, because that's how our paths cross, right? Same place, same event, and then common friend. And it was so quick. And next thing I know, he already landed something based on one of the participants. It could be this particular seminar as well. You never know. And the third one is he is ever ready. Because when I sat down and spoke with Jonathan, I remember Jonathan has so much to share with me. And that's why he said, did you know I actually had a stint in Istana? I'm like, what? No. And then he had more and more story. Okay, so that's one thing he did. No verbal diarrhea at all. All right. He basically paced the stories he tell me. He tell me a little bit, he see whether I'm interested, and then he will release the next story to me. So do that, yeah. I love it. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm gonna just show everyone. So right here, you can see the link, and the link to download the speakers decks is really quite straightforward. You know, the prefix is the same, link.artofcareer.com, and then the postfix is the speaker's name. Okay, so Jonathan Wan, please download his handouts. It's all there. And then what we're gonna do is, there is one question I just want to quickly ask Jonathan before he bamoos is it important, and did you collect testimonials from your previous supervisor, reporting officers, and along the way, recommendations and stuff like that?
Well, I think thanks for the question. I think that's a very good question. As a youth, testimonial was very, very, very important. And we do get it. I realized that in my job application the last few times, they asked for reference, but they didn't really ask for testimonial. But having said that, it's always good to have a testimonial from previous. Now, one of the better testimonial is from your previous supervisor. So for me, when my role was made redundant, my MD has assured me that if I apply for any job, he will be my reference. He will be my personal referee. And so in all my job application, I actually put him as the #1 referee. Has he been caught? To tell you, yes, he has been caught. So he has been caught by one of the applicant, one of the company that I actually applied in, and they actually asked him to fill in. And because you have such a good rapport, he actually showed me, hey, I write for you like that. Is that okay? So it's about building rapport. And I think that at a certain stage, also depending on the job you're applying for, it's always good to have testimonial. Yeah. And you can actually share such testimonial in your own social media platform too. For example, on LinkedIn, you can actually share that. So yes, I would say that if you could get a testimonial from your previous supervisor, that would definitely help and assist you.
Okay, so I think Jonathan, if you can respond to some of the questions. There were two questions I think is more for you to answer. One is, what is a virtual coffee, right? I'll leave you to answer that. And then that's in menti.com. And then there's also a question in the chat, on your odd days of posting, what theme did you start with? Usually there's always this inertia, right? And also, of course, driven by fear. Yeah. To write, your first post, like first love, is always the toughest. I don't know, love is sweet, but this one is a bit tough. Yeah.
Maybe just a very quickly on the second question first. How did I start my LinkedIn post? Was because travel stopped, halted. And I actually started posting about my travels. I started how I miss traveling, especially Berlin was my yearly trip, and I actually miss Berlin. So I started talking about Berlin. I digged out my old photos and I used those photos to just share. I could have, be eating this food. I could have gone to this place. So again, look back. Everything is very personal. What are you comfortable with to share? What are you comfortable with to able to let people know a bit more about you? Okay, and that will be a good start.